Hi, this is a car that y'all should probably be familiar with by this point. It's the new facelifted Kia Sportage. Now, at first glance, you might be thinking, or at least some of you might be thinking, hold on, that looks a little bit smaller than the Sportage I know. And you'd absolutely be right, because you see, in Europe, we only get the short wheelbase, smaller Sportage, whereas the US and Korea and other markets get a larger, long wheelbase Sportage. Make no mistake, that one still has only 5 seats, but it's a little bit bigger, I'm guessing designed for the tastes, the specific tastes of that particular market. But in Europe, we have this. This Sportage was just recently facelifted. It arrived in Macedonia a couple of months ago, and it's finally a car that I've reviewed previously that we can do a little comparison with. Also, the weather is absolutely hideous today, but what you're gonna do. I'm sorry about the slight dirt on the car, but there's really no point in washing it. So let's go ahead and get started with the Sportage. Starting, of course, with the front end, which, as you can see, looks significantly different. So the Sportage was one of the first Kia models to debut the new logo that everyone makes fun of because it looks like a K and a Cyrillic I, like this. But that aside, the new Sportage is interesting because it gets rid of the tiger nose front end in favor of something inspired very closely from, or rather very heavily inspired by, the EV9 electric SUV. This sort of design language with the big swooping daytime running lights that I will now show you, and the headlights that extend all the way down, and this whole general geometric styling is something that we've started to see a lot more in the rest of Kia's lineup. And indeed, here it is now in the Sportage, one of Kia's most important models. By the way, fun fact, the Kia Sportage is, according to official statistics, the best-selling car in Macedonia in 2024. They sold about 250 of these things. And to put that number into perspective, Macedonia has roughly 1.8 million people. So that's pretty good. We're going to find out why that is shortly. By the way, it's also worth noting that not every Sportage model gets this particular design of front bumper. This is a Sportage GT line, which means it gets a few more body color bits around the outside than, say, the regular Sportage models that don't have the GT line equipment. I'm not getting into trim levels because they're completely irrelevant. In Macedonia, Kia is so big that the importer is allowed to create its own trim levels, but the GT line is the same globally, and that's indeed the case here. So the regular Sportage models will have less body colored stuff on the outside than the GT line, and they have smaller wheels as well. By the way, the color, the name of the color is on your screen right now, and it perfectly matches this terrible weather. Good thing my camera is waterproof. Next up is the side profile, which isn't really all that different, except for the fact that there's a lot less chrome, or in fact, no chrome at all. A lot of automakers are starting to abandon chrome trim altogether because I think it has something to do with the fact that chroming plastic and other materials is not very environmentally friendly. And if you ask me, it's a good thing. I should also mention, this being a GT line, it's on 19-inch alloy wheels. The rest of the lineup gets 18-inch wheels, and they're wrapped up in Michelin tires, which is nice. I believe they're the Pilot SUV something or other. Let me check. Hopefully I won't get run over. Michelin... crap. God damn it. Michelin... Primacy 4, sorry. Yeah, most new cars that I deal with that are on Michelin tires, they use the Primacy 4s, as is the case here. And finally, the rear end, which, again, not all that different from what it was before, except now there's a slightly different taillight design that kind of curves back on itself, if that makes sense. It goes like that. There's still no full-width light bar, which is slightly disappointing. And there's a little bit more body-colored stuff down there in the bumper, again, owing to the fact that this is a GT line. And that tiny little white light in the bottom is the reverse light. So what do I think of the styling of the Kia Sportage? As soon as the van gets by, I'll tell you. How did I not miss this filming location? I think it looks great. I've always thought that, well, actually, that's not true. When the Kia Sportage first came out this generation, I was a little bit on the fence about its design because it was very different and unique, and certainly a big departure from the outgoing generation, but it has since grown on me, not least because I see them everywhere all the time. And this new facelift is actually a marked improvement over the previous car, and it's very distinctive and very cool looking. So now that we've wrapped up styling, it's time to move on to practicality. First, the key fob, which is also pretty significantly updated. It's still the detonator style with the buttons along the side, but now the Kia logo is much more subtle and it has a nicer matte finish. And wait for it, this Kia logo is also the activity LED on the key fob to let you know that an action has been performed. Genius. Anyway, you have 3 buttons along the side. Unlock is there, lock is up here in the detonator spot, and the tailgate release. Automatic tailgate release on this one, of course. Opening up the tailgate reveals a cargo area with 591 liters of space. You have a roll-away, an actually functional roll-away parcel shelf because it stays there. It's very nice. You can fold down the rear seats using levers. I haven't seen that in a while. That gets me excited sometimes, not gonna lie. There's some hooks on either side, tethering points there, and also a 12-volt outlet for plugging in things. You can see all of my equipment bags and the first aid kit supplied by the dealership. If you fold down the rear seats, that was very violent, you get 1,780 liters of space in the back, which is excellent. And then when you're done with your tailgate, you just press your button here, and, well, it closes. What about space in the back seats? Oh crap, forgot to put the seat back into place. Give me a moment. Right, okay, that's a good thing. It means the seats recline. Anyway, should have done that beforehand. And surprise, surprise, there's plenty of room in here. I am 5'11" and a half, 1.8 meters tall, Discord moderator in width. You know this, you know the drill. And there's plenty of leg room in here. And the headroom is also, well, it's a little bit tighter here because this model has the sunroof, as you can see, but it's still pretty good. There's plenty of leg room to just crouch down like this. There you go. There's a hook on the driver's seat, and there's one here as well. There's some storage in the front seat. This is a little bit cheaper and scratcher, not good. You get your own climate vents. Each of these seats has a USB-C port for charging devices. Bit of an odd place for them, I haven't seen that before. And on the doors, you have your own 3-stage heated seats, which is great. And the back windows are really tinted back here, so if it's sunny outside, you'll be fine. But on a day like this, it's a tad bit dark. Now let's try the middle seat. There is a bit of a transmission tunnel. Makes sense, you can get this car with all-wheel drive, and this one has all-wheel drive as well. There's the interior. And while this seat is a little bit further back, but middle seat passengering is absolutely doable in here. And almost forgot, there's an armrest with cup holders, and I will use this rather conveniently placed bottle that was left by the dealership. There you go, perfect. Let's put that back and, well, move on to the front. Real quick before we get in, obviously there's a keyless entry system. You push this button to lock the doors, and then you push that again to unlock the doors. Usually when you walk up to the car, the mirrors fold out automatically. All you have to do is push the button and get in. So this being a GT line, you get two-tone black and white leather seats and a two-tone black and white steering wheel as well. And as part of the facelift, this interior actually has quite a few changes, so let's go ahead and see what they are now. And now we're inside the Sportage. So as mentioned, one of the first things that greets you in the new Sportage is this bizarre steering wheel. The pre-facelift car had a far more normal setup. It had a 3-spoke design, but this is all futuristic and modern and very Kia EV6 and EV9-ish. It's a 2-spoke, obviously, it's a 2-spoke steering wheel. There's a Kia logo offset to the right on the airbag cover here. You have your standard Hyundai Kia multifunction controls on this side, so That's your scroll wheel for the gauge cluster screen. This is all to do with cruise control and the like. That's your media controls. That's your drive modes. I mistakenly was looking for the drive mode selector all over the center console like an idiot, but they moved it here. And four-wheel drive lock. It doesn't have a locking differential, but the all-wheel drive system is a little bit more sophisticated. I'll explain that during the driving section of the video. And in the middle, you have the horn, which sounds like this. Now this Sportage is not a hybrid, which means that the wheels are driven through a pretty standard 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission, controlled through my least favorite type of setup, the turn dial, which is now accented by ambient lighting. I don't know if you can see that. That's pretty cool, but get rid of this, please. It doesn't need to be here, and somebody could easily mistake it for volume control. I complained about this the last time as well. So the way this works is, as you'd expect, put your foot on the brake. All the way to the right is drive. Slight turn to the left or to the right is neutral, and all the way to the left is reverse. Brings up your 360-degree camera system. If the camera is wet, it could trigger auto emergency braking and scare the shit out of you. Don't ask me how I know that. And finally, park. Just push that P in the center and you're in park. Very simple. Infotainment system. And no, I haven't set the ambient lighting to rainbow. That's just a camera issue, quote unquote. But anyway, infotainment system. This is a 12.3-inch screen. And you might recognize the UI from the Hyundai Kona, and indeed, it is the exact same infotainment system. Crap. It is the exact same infotainment system, just a slightly different UI, which fits with Kia's design language. It has all the same functionalities, and, well, apart from game, which I have not encountered before, it has a dedicated YouTube app. I don't know why I said YouTube. The accent slipped out. YouTube! It has a YouTube app, yes, and entertainment. None of this stuff works without a Kia Connect account, so I can't demonstrate it, unfortunately, but I don't know what this is. I don't think it's a good idea. But it's very smooth and easy to use and nice and that, and Apple CarPlay works like a treat wirelessly. Some of the best Apple CarPlay functionality without a cable I've ever seen, so hats off to that one, Kia. Down here you have this excellent control system that Kia has all but abandoned as far as I know. The Sportage was one of the first models to introduce this and is currently one of the only ones that still has it. So right now, as you can see, all of these controls are to do with the climate controls. These two dials on the left and right are the temperature. I'm not going to call out what these are. You can see what they are. But then if you tap this little arrow, they're now media and infotainment system controls. Genius. Kia, please don't abandon this. We need it. In here you have a wireless charger and the same toggle system for the USB ports that we saw in the Hyundai Kona as well. Starter button that you saw. This one has heated and ventilated seats, being a GT line. Oops. No, it's too cold for that. There's also a 2-stage heated steering wheel. Always good to see. Shifter. And a bunch of controls here for your hill descent control, your auto start stop, your parking sensors, auto hold, and the camera array. Just a quick shortcut button. And indeed, we have the same deployable, I said deployable, not deplorable, cup holders. And some storage. Here's the gauge cluster screen, also with a sleek new UI. Currently the car is in normal mode. Tachometer on the right, speedometer on the left, and to control what's shown in the middle, you use the pages button on the steering wheel and this little scroll wheel with the arrows and the OK. So right now, this current setup is the one that has the most scroll options. So you got your trip odometers, you got your auto start stop information, tire pressure, drive distribution, because this one's all-wheel drive, and digital speed readout. If you press the pages button, it goes to a compass and the ADAS display. And that's about it. Drive modes, there's 4 of those. We got Sport, that's the next one up from normal, obviously. Gives a whole more sporty look to the gauges. Then you got Snow, which looks the same as normal. And Eco, which has these lovely green dials and those very subtle arrows. That's about it for that. Oh yeah, you got paddle shifters on the steering wheel. I forgot to mention those. Always useful to have. Turn signal stock. Yes, we got the blind spot cameras as well. Always love to see those, one of the best Kia and Hyundai features. Over here you have some more controls. Tailgate release, stability control off, really important, that one. No idea what this blank one is though. And the parking brake. And on the door you have mirrors, locks, windows, child locks for the windows in the back, and your 2 memory settings for the driver's seat. Speaking of, there's plenty of adjustment. Well, you need both hands, but rest assured there's plenty of adjustment in the driving position, although I would like the steering wheel to go just a tiny little bit higher than it does now. Here's your auto dimming rearview mirror and your overhead lighting controls. Simple stuff. That's the button to whether or not they turn on with opening the door. The sunroof, yeah, a little button there to open, close the sunshade. You know how it works. And lastly, your dome light, you have your, and lastly, the sun visor mirror with user-controlled illumination and a piece of protective film that the dealership hasn't taken off. And that's really about it in terms of the Sportage's interior from a features standpoint. So I think we can move this along now to quality and storage. Quality is absolutely excellent. There's soft touch plastics pretty much everywhere here. Only this is a little bit harder because it houses the heads-up display. And yes, by the way, we have that as well. I don't know if you can see it. But the quality all around is fantastic. Because this is a GT line, I'd imagine it's a little bit of a perceived effect, but it feels like a pretty premium product in here. I love these seats. They look fantastic. They're super comfortable. They're super premium. Something about having a two-tone steering wheel as well feels very high-end and luxurious, so to say. But even then, the quality is excellent. Obviously, it comes with a 7-year warranty, so no worries about that. But the quality as a whole is fantastic in here, and I mean that most sincerely. And one thing I really like is that Kia got rid of almost all of the piano black plastics. There's still some on the signal and wiper stalks there, but the piano black on the steering wheel is gone completely, and crucially, it's gone from the center console as well. This entire center console used to be piano black, including the switches. Now it's all just this textured gray piece, and it's all very lovely in that. And well, that's about it for quality. Excellent, and we know Kia does well in driver surveys, so nothing to worry about in terms of that. So let's see what else we have. That's a fuse box, no. Door storage, I don't know if that'll fit, it will fit a larger bottle, just if you put it in there like that. The phone storage / wireless charger that we saw, the cup holders, the center console, which has its own 12-volt outlet, and a sizable glove box. So overall, the Kia Sportage's interior is an excellent place to be. Finally, the engine. And there's still no hydraulic hood struts, even though this model currently retails for about $50,000 US. Anyway, besides the point, this Sportage is equipped with a pretty standard 1.6-liter turbo 4-cylinder, making 180 horsepower and 265 newton meters of torque. And that goes to all 4 wheels on this particular model through a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. 0 to 100 kph takes about a little bit less than 10 seconds, and the top speed is about, I forgot. There's also 1.6 turbo 4 with 150 horsepower. That one's front-wheel drive, and you can pair it with a manual transmission, at least here. I don't know how it is in the global markets. And eventually the hybrid and the plug-in hybrid will join the lineup. Those put out well over 200 horsepower. I've driven the hybrid before, and it was great. And I'm hoping to get some seat time in the facelifted hybrid as well, but for now, this is what we have. So what's it actually like to drive? Let's find out. Hello! You are joining me for what is quite possibly the first time I have filmed the review and the driving section back to back with each other. So let's get this show on the road. All right, let's go. Luckily, the highway exit is very close to where I am right now, so we're gonna do a little bit of both. I believe that over there is a retirement home. I've never bothered checking. It's a bit hot in here. We're gonna cool off. So what is the Sportage like to drive in town? It's actually really good. There's one thing I did notice about the driving experience, and that's that if you're in the eco or normal drive modes, this car having a dual clutch transmission, there's a little bit of a delayed throttle response. I'd imagine it's for more efficiency, but it's a little bit odd, and it takes some getting used to because, well, you don't normally expect the throttle to be delayed even after you've given it a fair amount of throttle. And sometimes it can be a tad bit inconsistent on the throttle response. So sometimes it just slips and lets go, and other times it just won't accept any throttle. But in general, the experience behind the wheel of the Sportage in town is excellent. I also wish there was there was a tad bit, the steering was a little bit lighter, and it was tied to the drive modes. It is not. It's a little bit heavier than most, no matter what drive mode you're in, which, I mean, it's fine. Just for maneuvers and different things like that, I would prefer it to be a little bit lighter weight. Other than those two minor things, the driving experience is excellent. And as I've said before about the Kia Sportage, it kind of does everything you need it to do without complaining. God damn, somebody stinks of gas. It does everything you want it to do without complaining or throwing a hissy fit about it. It just does it. You ask it to connect to Apple CarPlay wirelessly. It does it. You ask it to do highway driving. It does. You ask it to do dynamic driving. It does. And the dynamic driving itself was pretty surprising. Admittedly, I wasn't going at very high speeds, but for what it's worth, the Sportage is pretty good. It can handle itself when the road gets twisty. I also kind of love the sound of the engine and how it picks up the revs. It's a very interesting experience, and definitely not something I was expecting to be entertained by in the Sportage. The road we're just about to join over there is full of horrible, unpaved potholes, which gives me a perfect segue to talk about the ride, which is absolutely excellent. Despite the fact that this Sportage is on 19-inch wheels, absolutely no issue with the ride. It's excellent. I mean, there were a few potholes that kind of upset it, but generally, like going over speed humps and whatnot, it's pretty great. Holding a square steering wheel at 9 and 3 actually makes so much sense. Here we go. Here's the bad part of the road. No problem. I was not expecting it to be as comfy as it is, so hats off to Kia for that one. You outdid yourselves. Now this is where the really bad potholes are, so let's see what happens. Okay, that one was really big, admittedly, but you get the point. The Sportage is very good at absorbing potholes and the like. And the traffic light just went on. Ah, crap. Other things worth noting, well, the seats are super comfy. I don't know if that has to do with these lovely GT line leather and suede seats, but they are very comfy, and there's a lot of adjustment in the driver's seat, as I explained. And now, because I have both hands, I can finally show you, yes, plenty of adjustment in the steering wheel as well. It's a bit too far out. There we go. Plenty of adjustment in the steering wheel. Gauge cluster is super easy to read and very clean. Has a very nice UI. Turn signal stock feels excellent. When you're signaling, I'm going to disable auto start stop. And as a whole, the experience inside the Sportage is pretty great. And the visibility is also good, including out the rear window, which honestly surprised me. But out the front and out the sides as well, it's excellent. So now we're going to be stuck here for a little while. Hello again. We are currently on the highway. We're not at full highway speeds just yet, but I'm really enjoying getting showered by all the cars in front of me. Right, of course I can't turn fog lights on with automatic lights. What's the highway experience like on the Sportage? It's fantastic. Sound insulation is great. The ride, again, is excellent. Has no problem picking up speed. Okay, it's a tad bit slower, but it still has no problem picking up speed. That's the wrong traffic sign. Don't worry about that. The speed limit is 90 on this road, and it's about to become 120. So we're gonna switch to sport mode and give it some beans. Just to show you the acceleration briefly. Well, this part of the road, the speed limit's 120, so let's do it. There you go. Sounds a bit rough when you give it full throttle, but it's fine. It's more than doable. Generally the sound, well, most of the sound I'm hearing right now is the rain. There's hardly any noise from the tires. There's hardly any wind noise, considering what type of vehicle this is. Generally, you're gonna have a great time on the highway, both you and your passengers. And depending on what type of passengers you're transporting, you have quiet mode to not wake them up, which is nice. And that's all the stretch of highway we have, because I don't feel like paying a toll. So we're gonna go back around. And we're about to merge onto the highway again. I'm gonna switch to normal mode, because most people are gonna keep it in normal mode. And onwards and upwards. Not bad, actually. I gave it a little bit more beans than I normally would, and that was pretty good. I take it back. Good job. It sounds pretty good as well. First time I heard it at over 5,000 RPM. Excellent. And ladies and gents, that really wraps up the Kia Sportage. This is an excellent car, and I can totally see why it's so popular in Macedonia. It does a lot of things, it does them exceptionally well, and it does them for a surprisingly solid price. So it stands to reason that the Kia Sportage, the facelifted Kia Sportage, gets a score of 9 out of 10. And that's going to be about it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Blue Sky and follow along with the community tab rather for updates on upcoming videos. And I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.